now for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. Joining me on the program, as always, is my cat from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park, Brother Rich. Brother Rich, what's happening?
Always honored and humbled to be with you, especially on a day like this where there's a whole series of earthquakes happening all over the planet.
Yeah, wow. I heard about the California quake. I got some family out there, man. I meant to ask you, man, were you all right? I got so much going on my plate over here. Was you all right out there?
We're wonderful.
Yeah.
We're wonderful. Like Magic Johnson said, L.A. is the center of the basketball universe now.
Yeah, but them tectonic plates ain't no joke. And my man over to the right side of me from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Tell the people what you say.
Well, I just, the earthquakes are a result of my impact that I left over there.
Oh, my gosh.
I believe that, Double J. I believe that, my brother. I believe it.
Wow. And here it is. I thought on this program, humility was the order of the day. But apparently not. Folks like to pat themselves on the back. That is reserved for Barbershop J. Okay. But I'm glad Double J is back safe now after he left earthquakes in his wake and all that good stuff out there in Las Vegas town. Senate Bill 206. I think you gentlemen all will be interested in this Senate Bill 206. Are either of you familiar with Senate Bill 206?
I am familiar.
Okay, that's one of the things we'll be discussing today. And, of course, with Major League Baseball, the All-Star game being set here in Cleveland. What is it, Tuesday? Well, it's the Home Run Derby. It's Tuesday at 8 p.m. You all have to look up what channel it is. I'm not plugging nobody for free no more. We are going to discuss the Home Run Derby and its contestants, who you got, who's not. And, of course, the NFL and the NFLPA announced a mental health initiative. I thought that was very, very interesting when I looked that up. We're going to have a discussion about that. Of course, seeing how Brother Richard loves the dog pound, woof, woof. And the NFL season is yet, 5 minutes away from being here. We're going to start our NFL season off discussing this mental health initiative, and the CTE, so on and so forth. But up first, I found something very, very interesting that I thought Double J would, be reporting on this, seeing how I sent him out to Vegas on assignment. And, of course, he went out there to the casinos. Didn't do not a lick of work. But, anywho, Double J, when you were in Vegas, what'd you say? Yeah, what happens
in Vegas?
Yeah, it stays in Vegas. When you were out in Vegas, did you hear anything about the Las Vegas parking ticket program?
I did not. People spoke around it. So they were giving you a roundabout introduction about it. So they were asking a lot of people, both guests as well as anybody affiliated with any kind of resort, would ask a couple questions regarding, your personal vehicle or how you got there. And I have a feeling it was tied into this.
Yeah, well, maybe so, but check this out. Brother Richard, you might, I don't know, you might know about this too, but I found this very interesting. The Las Vegas program that's been instituted here allows parking tickets to be paid with school supplies. I think that's a pretty good idea. More cities should adopt that. You think, Brother Rich?
I think it's a wonderful idea. I'd never heard of this. You're introducing me to something this hour. I'd never heard of this before. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah,
that speaks to the citizens supporting the schools,
yes,
which is what we're supposed to technically be doing with our tax dollars and all these kind of fines.
Yes.
It's supposed to support our children. So I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yes, and I'll tell you right now, that's something Cleveland definitely should adopt. And Chicago. The city of Las Vegas has approved a program for a limited time, unfortunately. But I think this thing it's limited right now because they probably want to see how it's going to go off. If it's going to go off pretty good, I will believe. And then they'll maybe institute it later on for a longer duration. For a limited time that allows parking tickets to be paid with a school supply donation. According to a news release from the city, the program will run from June 19th through July 19th and will apply to people who have had a parking infraction in that time frame. Those with parking tickets can then pay them off, bringing in new, unwrapped school supplies of equal or greater value to the fine. So you get a $200 fine. I mean, you know, and of course, you know, some of the accepted items or supplies include, you know, your pens, your pencils, erasers, but the list goes on and on. And I don't know if I'm okay. Well, I don't know. They say that the city says anyway that only non-public safety citations are eligible. I don't know about that part. That might change as well. I just thought that was an interesting story, man, an interesting tidbit I found that, like I said, more cities should adopt, you know, because like you just mentioned, Brother Rich, you know, the tax dollars, especially in Cleveland, man, you know, we got all this county corruption and all this kind of stuff, you know, and, you know, with the sin taxes and all of the taxes we got. I mean, the taxes are everywhere. I get it. But all of the taxes we got going on here, man, you know, it's too much blight and too much depletion in this city, man. It will make you scratch your head like, where's all the money going? You know what I mean? So at least Las Vegas is kind of lightweight, trying to do the right thing, if only for a short period of time. Double Day, did you want to say anything about that before we go on?
Yeah, you know what I find interesting about it is somebody that serves on a board with education, and that was by, you know, part of why I was out in Vegas to begin with. It's interesting because generally your parking tickets go to the city, you know, whoever that may be, and it benefits your, you know, local
municipality,
you know, police or whoever it may be. And so ultimately for to allow this, I think it's both great, but at the same time, what I would hate to see is you all of a sudden have a war between education and educators, and those local, you know, response teams that are saying, hey, wait a minute, we need that money.
You think so? You think that would be the case? I hadn't even given that any thought. I don't know, Double J.
And again, I play devil's advocate with this stuff, because
gotcha.
It is a shame that it don't get as much as they should, and that we should even bring up that schools are in a position or in that predicament where they need the extra supplies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, the same could be said for certain municipalities as well.
Yeah, I just found it interesting. I think more cities should adopt that, and for a longer period of time. All right, switching gears. Let's discuss this Senate Bill 206. Just to briefly give you some rundown out there for all those who are not familiar with this. Senate Bill 206, and, you know, we've had discussions in the past, you know, a while ago, more recently, you know, discussing college athletes, you know, should they be paid? How should they be paid? Compensation, compensatory, the university's making money, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this conversation is never ending until there is a solution. So the Senate Bill 206 falls in line with all of that, you know, the NCAA and so on and so forth. Senate Bill 206 was orchestrated by State Senator Nancy Skinner. And basically, college athletes in Cali would be able to sign with agents and profit from endorsement deals. Double J, what you say to that?
You know where I stand on this. This is a long time coming.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Long time coming is that's an understatement. What about you, Brother Rich? What you had to say to that?
Well,
don't hold back.
I can only fish. I can only ride in on what Double J has already set up for us to hit the home run, and that is that this is the manifestation of what we all have observed: hypocrisy at its finest. And here's a state, the biggest economy in the country, the driver of industry, the driver of a lot of what is considered "quote unquote" fashionable in this country. The state of California taking the lead and recognizing that you cannot prevent these young men and women from making money off of their likeness and off of their imagery and off of their talent, when in fact mafia-like organization called the NC2A has given and taken onto themselves some authority that we don't even know where they got it from. In truth, if we find out who
said.
Empowered them,
yes,
to be able to make these kinds of decisions arbitrarily and just set these rules that you can't do this and you can't do that. That most of them are unconstitutional if they're really pushed to the margin. If somebody had the lawyers and the teams to fight this all the way. So this is just a state doing what they're supposed to do, and New York is going to follow next. And people are realizing the hypocrisy of it has been going on for too long. So it's not surprising that somebody, and fortunately, California is the state that says, no, we're not going to allow that.
Yeah, and California as a state, they got a lot of weight, when it comes to situations like this. So they setting. I don't know, trendsetter, setting the bar high, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of folks are looking.
It's the trend-setting state. It's the largest economy in the country. You can't ignore the largest economy and say we're not going to pay attention to it. The NCAA, as we know it, their days are numbered. They've been numbered for quite some time, but we're literally on the countdown to them probably closing the doors and setting up shop somewhere else and figure out something else, another hustler, if you will. But
yeah.
Their days are numbered.
Are numbered. I think so, too. And you know what? To add to that, I just never could understand or fathom how is it the NCAA? They don't even follow. They don't even go by their own rules that they set forth, especially when it comes to, in layman's terms, the college bowl games and so on and so forth. Who should get in? It wasn't even that long ago when Penn State. The whole thing about the NCAA was, if you beat your team, the team in your conference, you should get a such and such spot. When Penn State flat out beat Ohio State that one year, and Ohio State somehow, some way made it in. So I'm like, man, y'all wishy-washy, hypocritic, flip-flopping, Draymond Green's 2-year-old son do a better job of flip-flopping. These dudes here, man, they terrible, man. But, and as Miss Skinner's bill it already cleared the state Senate. I think about maybe last Wednesday. And there's no question this is going to present a showdown, so to speak, with the NCAA. Brother Rich, I'm going to ask you again, though, do you not only the NCAA's days are numbered, I believe that as well, but how soon do you think that they take a fall?
Well, when you have such a conglomerate, I don't know that they'll fall tomorrow, but I think that the dominoes are all in place, and we see them toppling one by one. And so with one of the things about California, again, we can use the area of medical marijuana or cannabis, as it's called, and how the fact that it originated in California and it's now sweeping states because of the revenue, because of the potential, because of the medical abilities of what was just castigated and thought that there was no use for it. And now we see the dominoes in that terms are falling rapidly. With this, I think it's going to fall even faster because the hypocrisy surrounding college athletics has been so glaring for so long. And in the world today, people are fighting to bring more justice and balance to and equity to every area. There's a cry right now for the women's national team to be paid more and fairer wages. People are looking at these things and realizing them. So I think that it's not only the NCAA, but all of these kinds of systems and programs and organizations and these kind of setups and arrangements that have been going along, wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah,
since
the 1800s.
They don't even
Yeah.
by their own rules.
Yeah.
All of those things are now being exposed now for what they are. All of them.
Yeah. Skinner's bill also, it would treat college athletes, the same as Olympic athletes or those who compete in the Olympics. Earn income from the talent while retaining amateur status. Double J, what you say to that?
Oh, I'm 100% a supporter of this. I think, that it's a beautiful thing in many respects that they were able to find the consistency between the Olympics as well as the NCAA athletes. It's a perfect method, but to answer your question a little earlier about despite the dominoes beginning to fall, if you look at the legislation, it says it wouldn't go into effect upon being passed until 2023. So if you remember when we first brought up the concept of this changing, I said it was something that would take years. And so, we're heading into 2020. But again, at that point, if you're sitting on a couple $100 million, let's not feel bad for these guys for 1 second. They can find and invest and diversify their portfolios with no problem.
So you don't think that the duration or the time till this takes effect has anything to do with maybe they're just trying to line everything up, kind of work all the kinks out, so to speak?
Absolutely. And, of course, you're going to have the NCAA fighting tooth and nail, and they're going to be lawyered up. They're going to have, again, representatives. It's going to look like when the Fed first came into play, and they're going to have lawyers from across the country.
Yeah.
And, again, from there, they're going to try to diminish something like this to an extent, if only, again, to limit how much they pay out. Because at that point, in their eyes, it becomes an expense. So, again, you get greedy. It's human nature to want more. And unfortunately, though, for these guys to get 85% of the revenue instead of 100% is still something they're not really willing with open arms to let go of.
Of course. That's the gas, the fuel, what it takes to fuel one of them yachts. I shouldn't have to come out of my own pocket to fuel my yacht. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? I found something very, in particular here. When she says, Mrs. Skinner says that college athletes, that to me is kind of ambiguous because when you say college athletes, are you saying all athletes, including the swim team, so to speak, Brother Rich?
Absolutely. In this regard. Now, there are Katie Ledecky, for instance, is a college swimmer. She swam for the Olympics, but she went to college.
Yep.
You have other young women who are in college right now.
She's a darn good swimmer too. Ledecky's a darn good swimmer.
She's a fabulous swimmer. Fabulous swimmer.
Yeah, she balled out in the Olympics.
Young, without a doubt. And so, for instance, she became an American icon. So we should definitely allow someone like that to retain whatever measure of amateurism, if you call it that they want to retain, if it's for the purposes of securing a degree, for whatever purposes, whatever the reason is. If she wants to stay in school because there's not a viable market necessarily right now to be a professional this or that, certainly during the time that she's earning revenue for her institution, because all eyes are focused on her and her swim team and this and that and the other, we should pay attention to that. And have we paid attention to that and been honorable and respectable of the talent, again, whether they be male or female, whatever they're contributing to their institution, they should have that earning power. It gives them more vested interest even in the institution that they are participating in. So you find now, why are players not loyal to their quote-unquote colleges and their teams anymore? Because the hypocrisy has been so laid bare that there's no idea anymore that I go to college because I'm going to be, they really care about me and this is, everybody's looking at, no, it's big business and everybody's looking out for themselves now. So I got to look out for myself. So I got to be a one and done. So I got to figure out how I can go to college and play the least games if possible, pull up with an injury, and just as long as my stock is good and I can get drafted, that's it. I don't have to work on my fundamentals because nobody's taking this seriously anymore. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's affected the whole game. It's affected sports across this whole landscape. Fact.
You know what? We're going to revisit this topic, I'm sure, down the road. But I'm glad you mentioned Ledecky and the swim and the amateurism, the way you worded it, because it brought to mind, I was once not the main surgeon, it's well documented. I've had 2 knee surgeries, patella rupture repairs. But for the second one I did, the doctor, not the guy who actually did the surgery, but like his assistant, I don't know what his title is. But anyway, periodically I will go back to get cortisone injections. And cortisone is tough on your body after a while. It might help initially, but after a while it starts to degenerate the tissue. And it really, in the end, causes more problems than it does. So it helps like for 5 minutes compared to 55 minutes of the damage it does down later on. You get what I'm saying? But anyway, I was having these cortisone injections, and the guy and I were talking. And I promise you, I'm going to record. I wish I'd had a recorder with me that day because he and I were talking about should college athletes retain amateurism and so on and so forth. Man, what he said, I'm rarely am I at a loss for words, brother. But you know this. Double J, you know this by now too. But when he got done talking, man, I was sitting there for another 77 minutes, felt like. Man, he blew it out of the water. I was like, dag. And I told him then, I said, man, I got to get you on the show. But he's kind of too busy to be on the show, seeing how seemed like he always in surgery, somebody's bones are being fixed or tendons are being repaired, and he's right on the spot. But he did agree to maybe, at some point I'll record him, and I kind of forgot about it, but I'll record him, and I'm going to upload that, and then when we come back across the subject, I'll play that, play what he said. I thought what he said was very, very poignant. So we will get back to that. But I want to ask this too, Double J. I'm coming to you. They say that the bill has raised questions as to how the NCAA would treat the California college athletes, or California college sports in particular. What do you think they mean by that?
Well, I mean, again, to revert back to my point a little earlier, at this point, let's assume it starts just like Brother Rich pointed out how the medical marijuana started, where it was just a single state. And at that point, you're going to be the red-headed stepchild. You're going to be the one that it's always you. They're going to be upset. There's going to be a lot of animosity towards them, and which is unjust, and it's incredibly disappointing. But at the same time, again, we're talking about money, and unfortunately, that's what makes the world go round in 2019. And when it comes to sharing that, despite all of the facts suggesting this is how it should be, you're going to have a little bit of pushback here.
Yeah, but
and so don't be surprised if you see less events. Typically, let's look at the NCAA basketball tournament. Normally, there's a West regional.
Right.
Don't be surprised if you start seeing Portland, Oregon, or Seattle, Washington being selected rather than Los Angeles.
Oh, wow. You think? Oh, well. Well, I don't know, man.
It's not out of the question.
Yeah. Nothing is really anymore.
Not out of the question at this point.
Yeah, but see, here's the deal, though. If you say money makes the world go round, so to speak, nowadays, them same folks who would tell you that would also, shouldn't they also know that all money ain't good money?
Well, again, they've understood that, and I'm paraphrasing this at this point, but they've sold their souls.
Okay.
This isn't
yeah.
it's coming, and the right steps are taking place. They're fighting back rather than saying, you know what, this is a great initiative, we're going to embrace it. You're not hearing any of that out of their camp.
Yeah, I guess. But see, the thing about them, when you talk about greed, too, they have so much of it that they could do this and still come out ahead. But they want every...
But I think you're absolutely right. But look at the heart of every business person. Too much money is not enough money.
I don't know. I consider myself to be somewhat a business person. I want enough to be comfortable. I think when you start getting too, but I understand in those circles. I get what you're saying though. In those circles, it's a lot of it was built on greed anyway. And when you start out greedy, you maintain being greedy. But being greedy, we all know it just don't work out, man. You get what I'm trying to tell you? Not ordinarily, Brother Rich. What do you?
It'll be very interesting too if the NCAA tries to find a way to go the route of say like the PGA, which is
do tell.
A not-for-profit.
Oh. I don't see them doing that. Brother Rich, that's a good point, though, Double J. Brother Rich, what do you say? What does the NCAA do? How do they treat our college athletes?
I think they do everything. I think they try everything Double J just said. I totally agree with him. They're going to do exactly that. They're going to try to keep championships away from Cal. They're going to try their hand. They have to, like he said, they're going to lawyer up. They're not giving up billions of dollars in revenue because this move potentially destroys their whole organization. Once you get California, and see, imagine this. If this was the California sports heyday where UCLA is thriving,
USC,
where, USC is thriving, where you have USC football doing well like it was and really competing on that level, where you have the Pac-10 performing as they once performed.
Yeah.
If you had the viability to the degree, this conversation would all be over with. And I believe one of the elements of implementing it 3 years thus down the line is to allow for the NCAA to perhaps come to its senses, as well as allow for California and its lawyers and its team to develop a system, a case, program, if you will, that would be modeled after by other states. Because once this is done, and California is going to do it, once it's done, what you have the NCAA then figuring out exactly like WJ say, okay, we're going to punish California. We're not going to have any more championships there, or we're not going to do this there. But you're not going to be able to deny it just because of the fact of the sheer size of the economy, because the money does run things, and the economy of California is undeniable to the American reality. That's just a fact. And because California legislators know that, and because California's politics are set up in such a way that it's citizen-driven, in fact, and indeed, more than any other state, you find the ability to get these kind of measures across. And so that's why I use the example of medical marijuana, because just as medical marijuana swept the country because of California's initiative, this is going to sweep the country because of California's initiatives also. Not that there won't be any pushback, there certainly absolutely will be.
Yeah, and I guess that's a human nature element too, pushback in terms of they're so used to their level of comfort. Once you see that level of comfort being snatched away from you, you know what I'm saying? You're going to do anything to hold on, you know what I'm saying, to that level of comfort. But you built that level of comfort on crookedness. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like telling a lie. You know, you might get away with it for a while, but at some point you're going to trip yourself up because it ain't the truth. You know what I'm saying? And truth be told, like you said earlier, the NCAA, who are they? Who gave them their power? I would love to have seen universities police themselves and get rid of them as an entity. You feel me? Yeah, good stuff, fellas. All right, let's switch gears once again. Let's talk about this MLB home run derby. Now, I know we haven't talked much baseball because, look, I'm going to just be honest with you. And I love playing baseball as a kid growing up as a sport. And I think it's what's the word I'm looking for? People is very underrated, so to speak, in what you have to do to be successful at it. You know, I still say, man, hitting a fastball 99 miles an hour and making contact, that's not no easy thing to do. But it's such a long season. Of course, I grew up watching with my grandfather. He taught me how to read box scores. So I have an appreciation for the game. I really, really do. But it's such a long season, man. It's just, I'm a constant action kind of guy. I really am. So we haven't talked much baseball, a little bit here and there. But now that the All-Star game is here and the second part of the season, or the latter portion of the season, however you want to put that, is upon us or fastly approaching, we'll definitely have more baseball on the menu. But I want to talk about this home run derby. Let me give you all the contestants, or the participants. Christian Yelich, Guerrero Jr., Bregman, Peterson, Alonso, Santana, Bell, and Acuna Jr. Double J, who is the 2019 Home Run Derby champion this year?
Well, I was initially going to go with Christian Yelich. Again, what makes, here's what the MLB is doing to make this a little bit different, not just a true batting practice, if you will, type of event.
I think I know where you're going with this because I saw that as well. But go ahead. I thought that was very, very interesting because it's going to lead me to my next part about this. But go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, just to answer your first question, I'm going to go. Ideally, I would like to see as far as the final, I'd like to see the hometown Santana going up against either Vlad Guerrero Jr., in which case my winner would be Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I would have picked Santana too, but that's not who I'm picking. But I like Santana as a pick. But Brother Rich, what about you?
I have to back Double J up in this one again because, number one, I know he does his homework, and the way he laid that argument, I have to concede to that because, of course, my personal favorite Judge, New York Yankees, is not in it. So
yeah, Aaron Judge, that would have been nice. Man, have you seen that guy? A lot
Absolutely.
of times, man, that dude is a giant. We talk about, was a guy 6'10". He is a giant.
He's Jimmy Graham with the baseball bat.
Yeah, exactly. Good one, though, Jay. I like Yelich. I really do, man. Christian Yelich is different. some people said, oh, he's a one-hit wonder. If you go and look this guy up, well, he single-handedly put the Brewers in the playoffs last year, if you ask me. This dude is a National League batting champion, won some kind of Hank Aaron Award or something. I mean, the Gold Glove. So, I mean, he do it at the plate. And here's the, you know what, I'm going to ask you this question, both of you all this question off of this. But I'll finish this. The guy does everything, man. See, he's a complete player. That's why I disagree with the person I was talking to about him and saying that he's a one-hit wonder. The guy's a complete player. He can hit, and I'm surprised. I don't know. I looked up some stuff on him, and I didn't see it. Wait a minute. I don't know. I'm not sure. Did he hit? Did he have Double J? Did he ever hit for the cycle?
He has not yet. He came close.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, he I believe he was a triple shy away from doing it last year, and he ended up hitting a second home run instead.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Well, that don't hurt. He always the long ball don't hurt. Yeah, I mean, you know, chicks dig the long ball, right? But here's the question I want to ask off of that. We talk about sports and their awards. You know, in the NBA, of course, we talk about MVP and so on and so forth. Defensive Player of the Year. In Major League Baseball, is hitting for the cycle as coveted I say award, I shouldn't say, maybe an accomplishment or feat, as coveted a feat or accomplishment today as it once was? And is it more so than any of the other feats or accomplishments you can do in any of the other major sports, so to speak? Double J?
Without a doubt, and I do want to correct myself. It wasn't a second home run. Yelich hit for the cycle twice last year.
Okay, he did, and I don't know why, because I looked him up on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
maybe I did see that
twice.
Yeah. And actually, that's why I was asking that. Duh, that's on me, because I did again looked it up. But you got to understand, the senility is real, and I'm tired too. I work nights, right? You got me. But yeah, okay. So he hit for the cycle twice. So again, I ask you, hitting for the cycle. That's not an easy feat, man. As opposed to, let's say, triple-double nowadays. You know, it seems like everybody getting one. Every time you look up, you take a bite out of your sandwich. Oh, this guy got a triple-double. Oh, yeah, okay. Jack Sigmund got a triple-double. You know what I'm trying to I thought the triple-double in basketball and the hitting for the cycle in baseball were like two of the most rare feats. You know what I mean? Once upon a time, they was neck and neck. Now, again, I think the hitting for the cycle is in a class by itself. So go ahead. My bad. Continue. Or finish, rather.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you bring up this point because to your initial point about the triple-double, you would say that the style of today's game is what allows for that to happen.
Right.
So at the frequency in which it occurs now versus, say, in the 80s or in the 90s.
Right.
And the same actually can be said for the game of baseball because up until a few years ago, if you recall, post the steroid era, there were a substantial drop in number of home runs, and there's guys such as Justin Verlander came out and said, look, they tampered with the ball where this ball is now flying off of these bats.
So wait a minute, let me hold your thought. Tamper with the ball, because I saw that. That was a couple months ago. Maybe towards like the start of this season, and I read where he said that. What do you think that he means by they tamper with the ball? What would they do to the ball?
Well, it's just like the Tom Brady deflate gate.
Okay,
it's essentially what shows that they did some kind of systematical change with either the type of stuff inside of the ball itself. Yeah, because there's no air bladder. There's no air bladder in a baseball like it is a football, though. But I get what you're saying along those under that umbrella, so to speak.
Yeah, well, if I may weigh in on that, I'm hearing that they round them tighter. That's why they're flying.
Okay,
that's the change. Some pitchers are saying that they wound them especially tighter this time.
Oh. So if you're into that sports science type of deal, which I'm not, I won't lie.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That makes the ball fly off the bat faster, yes.
Okay, so now here's another question then. Do they go back to unwounding them tighter, so to speak, or do they start changing dimensions of the fields now? In other words, down the left field line instead of it being I guess. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on the park, but I think here in Cleveland it's like 375 or something. So do you go to 375 to 385 maybe? Double J.
Well, you bring up a good point. Every park is unique. You can look at places like Philadelphia or Colorado, where in Philly it's incredibly close. In Colorado, it's the environmental circumstances that allow it to happen a little bit more frequently.
Yeah.
And those are things that you take into consideration when selecting a team. So if you're a pitcher,
hold that thought, Double J.
The numbers are
hold that thought.
Yep.
I just want to right quick tell the folks, if you have not been to Colorado, trust and believe. When they say that the air is thin, the air is thin. I lived in Colorado, Denver, actually. You can see the mountains in the background and whatnot. The air is thin. And you know what? Matter of fact, there was a Steelers player who, when the Steelers would go to Denver, he couldn't play. Was it Ryan Clark? I think it was Ryan Clark. He couldn't play up there because of some health condition he had that the thin air affected him. Yeah, man. And listen, that elevation is no joke. Finish your thought.
Yeah, and so ultimately, if you look in the past, I'll give you Comerica Park. I was there just yesterday evening. Deep center field is at about 430 feet, which is far. And in the past, there were only maybe 3 players since the park had opened in over 19 years that were capable of hitting the ball into the camera well.
Wow.
And now it's packed almost 3 times to 5 times annually over these last 3 years. So that goes to show you at this point that if you were to move it back, again, it takes away from the game's, most. That's like taking the 3-pointer away again in the NBA. You just can't do it.
Yeah, especially not the way. Yeah, not the way it's constructed now.
Baseball is touching. And so this is, as you stated earlier, chicks dig the long ball, and that's what puts butts in seats. So that's ultimately why this is taking place now. So I don't foresee them saying, "Hey, look, architecture guys, you're going to have to come up with a way to have these fields pushed back," and that also interferes with the fan experience because now you're talking about bleacher seats way out there.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I asked because I don't see them making any changes to the ball. I just don't, Brother Rich. What about you? Is hitting for the cycle as coveted?
No, it's definitely not, and absolutely not. And once here's the other thing. All of these sports are now tampered with. And as Double J said, and you mentioned it to us, chicks dig the long ball. You know that. I know that. We know that's a well-known mantra in sports. And so the Major League Baseball, you can not just make a baseball. They order that. They know the factory.
Right. Yes.
They want this in the game. Want this in the game. That's why they wanted steroids. And as long as everybody could, whether people were doing it or not, the fact that it was causing people to watch the game and more people were involved and engaged in the game, they didn't really care about that at that point until people started to question the credibility of these records. So nowadays, you're wondering with everything, are they doing it natural or are they getting some assist?
Go ahead.
What is the player that for the longest said, he told everyone, "I'm doing this real," and then it came out that he was one of the players that was involved in that as well.
I think it was Palmeiro, Rafael Palmeiro, one of them guys.
Palmeiro is exactly what I'm talking about. He went to Congress and said, "I do this naturally, and I'm hurt that you all." Come on now, there's too much money involved in it. So the league has their reason they want to inflate the baseballs and cause the baseballs to do what they're doing, and then the players have a reason that they want to do what they do. But the pitchers are complaining because they're feeling the weight of it right now, and they're not getting out as many people as they want to get out, and they got to change the configuration of the fielding, and the managers have an issue. But in fact and indeed, people don't really the league itself, unless it hurts the bottom line, they don't really care.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I wish they'd take a page out of WWE's book, all of these sports. Just to come out and tell folks that, hey, this is what we're doing. Like it or not. Ain't nobody going to care. They're going to still show. Stop trying to act like that integrity really is, a part of your vocabulary. No, oh my gosh, in the NBA with the 2-minute report. My gosh, give me a break. Give me a doggone break. Yeah, I too. I don't know. I differ a little bit. You know, when I have the time to catch a game, it's been a long time since I've seen a guy hit for the cycle. I just think that, you know, with the way pitchers are painting corners and throwing with heat and all of that kind of stuff, man, you know, to make the hand-eye coordination to make contact as a hitter with a baseball, I just marvel at it still. I mean, it's right up there as far as I'm concerned. So to be able to hit a single, a triple, a double, and a home run all in one game, man, it's some guys. I mean, come on, Double J. I mean, you know, a guy go 1 for 3, and he getting patted on the back. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's very challenging to make that kind of contact with a baseball. You know, especially when you got a guy like Matt Scherzer.
You're absolutely right. The quality of the pitching is there. In addition to the fact that you're talking about a sport that if you hit 33% of the time, you're getting a gold jacket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you know, in NFL, you catch
33% anything else in life, and you're getting fired.
Exactly. Yeah, well said. Well played. Well said. All right, man. Let's talk about this. And, you know, we are definitely going to talk about this whole Kawhi and KD and Kyrie deal. Bobby Portis has some very interesting things to say about the KD and Kyrie move to Brooklyn. You know, of course, Kawhi and PG, nobody saw PG and all that coming. But before we get to that, I want to just briefly touch on this NFL, you know, the NFL Players Association, you know, and their announcement of this mental health initiative. And in part because, you know, even though he hasn't been on the show for quite some time, our dude, Herm Arvey, you know, former Browns and Ravens offensive lineman, you know, who he and I had, you know, more than one conversation. And I told you all, he kind of suffers from that as well. You know, being an offensive lineman, you know, banging helmets and stuff like that. You know, from a fan standpoint, you know, you don't give thought to that kind of stuff. You get what I'm trying to tell you? But, you know, players know, so to speak. And, you know, again, I've been on the phone with him on more than one occasion. And he asked me, man, what was I saying, man? You know, that type of deal. And it's not like he's trying to be, you know, facetious or nothing, you know, because of the subject matter we were discussing. No, it's real, man. So this, I guess this past Monday, both the, you know, again, the NFL and NFLPA have come together and made it so that every team will employ a mental health professional to work in its building. You know, and here's the interesting part. They could conceivably, you know, lead to a change in the league's attitude toward marijuana as a pain management treatment. Brother Richard, what say you to this?
Again, I think it's fantastic. Look, I don't think it takes brain chemistry of a scientist to understand that these NFL players are exposing themselves to potentially lethal levels of head injuries, and the calculations that come out from those consistent banging every Sunday leads to what we call a CTE today. And here's the issue. I won't gross our listeners out by mentioning the specifics, but just take a Google at what is being reported that Kellen Winslow Jr. used to do in the locker room. That young man was obviously suffering from some kinds of issues well before he got into any kind of situation that has cost him his freedom at this stage of his life. And other players, and you know that I said this to you personally, that this was my issue with the Ohio State football team from time immemorial. It was the issue of what I saw them do to a player. I saw the young man get ruined through that program. And it's because where's the observation that these young people, these young men, they need help. They need mental health assistance and support. When you start seeing some of these signs of manifestation of is a certain level of antisocial behavior that just is not, it's not normal. It's not normal. So, and mental health help? Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, I'm with you on that K2 thing, man, because you know he was a dog, man. You know, he dealt with a staph infection while he was here. You know, that was a big deal back then. You know, him and Joe Jurevicius suffered from staph infections and stuff. You know, football players, man, they go through a lot, man. You know, I like I said, man, I tip my hat to them guys. You know, you play football on any level. You know, you get kudos from me, man, you know. And I bash any fan any fan who will sit and watch it just like I do, we do, and all of us do, and would be dismissive when it comes to the injury factor. You know what I mean? I would not dare downplay a football player's injury. College, high school, especially the NFL. You know, I've said this before. I would not dare downplay the injury factor. You know, based on the nature of the sport. You know what I mean? It's occupational hazards all through and through. They borderline right next to professional bull riding. Except them guys, bull riders might have a slight edge because they don't wear helmets. Not with, the kind of face mask them guys, the NFL players be wearing. But, yeah, man, at any moment. And, speaking of PBR, professional bull riding, I remember years ago, and because of senility, I can't recall the guy's name, but I watched one guy get on the back of a bull. And I don't know what they do to those animals to make them want to they trying to get up out the arena, once the gate open. But I watched a bull, man. And, I'm sure we all, even if you only seen it once, you all know what I'm talking about here. Once the gate is open, the bull starts kicking, whatever.
Absolutely.
And the person on the back of the bull, he's trying to, his body's going back and forth, he's trying to stay on the thing. Man, I seen the guy, man, he lurched because the way the bull head was kicking, his body lurched forward, and the horn caught him right above his right eye. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, football players need to get paid, and don't downplay the injuries. So, yeah, I'm with you, too, this mental health initiative, you know what I mean? And I hope they go back to some of those former players who are, I know they're doing some compensatory stuff now, for players who, played way back when, to get, sort of compensated or get some sort of something in regards to that, man. But that CTE, man, it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal. It really, really is a big deal, and all of those guys. But see, my thing is this too, though, Brother Rich and Double J. I don't want this to be a lip service thing. I don't want this to be one of them things where they implement it now and, 5 minutes from now is, some sort of issue. Because DeMaurice Smith, who's the head of the Players Association, NFLPA, he did say something about, put some memo out to players, here recently about, get prepared, start preparing for a work stoppage. Do you think that this has something to do with that? And I don't know when that work stoppage is coming.
I think this is part and parcel of what they have to fight for. They have to fight. NFL players have to fight for their humanity. And again, I'm going to reiterate this statement because I think it's apropos, because it starts long before this. You don't just get to an NFL contract and then go out and beat up somebody or get into a fight or get into a bar and people say, look at those NFL players. Those guys never know what to do with their money. Because I'll go back to the conversation that I've had off air with you, and I'll mention the young man's name only because he's gotten his life together. But I've told you off air, and we've had private conversations about my observances of Maurice Clarett as a young man in college, a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And even though he had won the Heisman Trophy and he was great, and the fact is anybody who was close to Maurice Clarett during that time knew that Maurice Clarett had issues. He had problems. He needed support. There was something going on there.
Yeah.
And so for Ohio State to just let him go on, pass through, and let him and use him up to run the football, and then something happens to the young man and he clocks out and is unable to handle whatever circumstances going on in his life is a clear indication and evidence of there were prior issues there. All of these football players, I don't care who they are. So now the league is, and the players are saying, and the league is saying, hopefully, the Players Association is saying, no, mental health support has to be a part of what you do because the nature of football, it's traumatic. You're talking about
it's war.
For us, all the circumstances. It's war. It's war.
Yeah,
so,
and every down is like combat.
You have to, absolutely, you have to prepare for the after effects of that. You have to.
Yeah, I saw a special too once with they profiled Jerome Bettis and Earl Campbell. Man, it hurt my heart, man, to see Jerome Bettis try to walk down a flight of stairs. And when I say a flight of stairs, I mean it was probably only 4 or 5 steps. Took him forever. And, Earl Campbell had issues. They say it had something to do from the hit on Roman Pfeiffer, who played with the Rams. We all seen the video clip of it, I'm sure, when he was coming around left end or cutting up through between the left tackle and guard, and Roman Pfeiffer met him, right after the fact, and he put his head down and went through his chest or whatever it is. They said, man, Earl Campbell said, man, his spine, the lower part of his spine, man, He used to couldn't sit. He couldn't stand. He said it felt like somebody was stabbing him with needles forever in the day. He couldn't go to events or no nothing. So, yeah, man, they need to do some type of initiative, and it needs to be backdated, so to speak. Double J, what you have to say? You want to weigh in on that too? Get last say or what?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at more recent history as well with Teddy Bruschi,
I just saw that he had a stroke.
And, that's why I've never judged or doubted the severity of, NFL athletes.
Yeah.
Again, they go into this with, that's probably the hardest part of your life, that, to realize that your dream is ultimately what's going to kill you. And
Double J, hold up. I need you to repeat that slowly for the people in the back, because I don't think they heard you. Say that at the beginning. Your dream is what?
Yep. Ultimately, your dream is what's going to kill you.
Ooh-wee, marinate on that for a couple days. That right there leave you in a haze. Yeah, that was good stuff, Double J. Go ahead, finish.
And it's unlike anything else that we see. We feel for any athlete. I don't care if you're a water polo player or, a professional baseball player, horseback rider. It does not matter. But, you're going to face some form of there's going to be a risk for you to get hurt to some degree. But none of them are doing these car accident type of collisions, daily.
Yeah.
And, so am I an advocate? I think this is something also no different than what our earlier topic with the NCAA. I think this is something that's been long overdue. Oftentimes the NFL does these kinds of things reactionary under a cover your behind method.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But at the very, if we can get these folks some treatment, because this isn't going to go anywhere. These types of events where, unfortunately with Kellen Winslow, some of his behavioral statistics and antics that, weren't antics. He wasn't crying out for help necessarily, but that was clearly a cry for help, because we all understand those aren't what, somebody under the, that's doing well mentally is going to do.
Yeah, that's why I say, man, at the end of the day. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and just lastly, that ultimately these guys need to have somewhere that they can go.
Yes.
That can assist them with this.
Yeah, I just cannot say it enough, man. That's why, in part, I'll stop watching First Take, whatever that is, with Skip and Shannon or whatever. I only watched that once or twice. All of those commercial, quote-unquote, type sports talk shows. I do watch the particular shows, the NFL Network, NBA TV, them types, because you get more substance. You can actually have a pen and pad. You could learn something. But them other ones, because when they talk about NFL injuries, man, it irks me to no end. Oh, he can't stay on the field. And I'm like, dude, let me see you get out there. You couldn't even be a kicker. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? For Valdosta State. You know what I'm trying to tell you? So, and I get it, you're being compensated for your opinion, me on sports talk. But I just a line that they cross, man, and I don't think I will cross, especially not when it comes to that sport. So, yeah, I'm hoping, that this thing really, 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 really takes off. And it's as beneficial to the players as it needs to be. And in particular, man, this whole idea about the NFL, whoever would have thought we'd say that the NFL is considering changing their policy on marijuana use. I mean, my goodness, Brother Rich, am I lying here? I mean, how many NFL players? We don't even need to name their names. Yeah, they all doing it. So how you going to make something live? And here's the killer part, too. I don't know this for a fact, but I wouldn't doubt it. Them same folks saying, or who had been saying for a while that, oh, no, marijuana would do this. Oh, them guys, they probably were smoking some when they were saying that. But anyway, I digress.
No, they absolutely were smoking. Absolutely were smoking. And remember now, the only reason they were doing this, remember, it's coming out now. The players are even saying it. Remember, they were only doing this because they were in bed. These teams have relationships with pharmaceutical corporations that provide them the medications that they give to these athletes, like the cortisone injections, like all the kind of opioids that they give them. That's why the players say they could take opioids all day long until they're in a stupor. and it was fine with the team. They could be shot up all kind of cortisone, steroids. They could take. They say, but when they began to get their private doctors and began to get tests, it began to manifest to them that you're literally killing me, and you're just keeping me in a condition to run me out there like the cattle that you think I am.
Keeping me zombified. And I'm glad, you know what, Brother Rich, let me fish back off what you just said. I want to recommend a book to you both and to all our listeners out there that speaks largely to what you just said. And that's the book Lawrence Taylor wrote, LT, Over the Edge. You have got to read that book, and he speaks longly, oftenly about that whole idea about them zombifying you. And here's the killer part. If we use some stuff of a natural source, so to speak, then it kills the synthetic prophets. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. Look at Ricky Williams.
Yeah, my man, the Zen master of the NFL. Go ahead.
And ultimately, you know, I'm not going to reveal my source's name.
No, we don't have sources here, Double J. No, we don't have sources. Yeah. We just know people. Go ahead.
His time in the NFL, I'll put it to you this way: if he needed anything, he just would go to the team doctor. If I needed anything,
wow,
again, it was as simple as asking, and you would have what you needed times 10, as long as it made sure you got back out on that field. If you look at somebody like Brian Urlacher, again, a Hall of Fame player, he specifically said he would fake injuries before games just so he was numb so he could go out there and tear someone's head off.
What? Oh, my gosh. I liked Urlacher, too, by the way. He was a dog. True. Dang, man. And again, the fans who have no clue or who say asinine things. Oh, man, he's a bum. He's a this, and that. You cannot do that with NFL dudes, man. Now, I talk to you all day about throwing interceptions and all of that. Again, I'll be a performer. But when you hear stuff like that, oh, man, how dare you come out your mouth and say he can't stay on the field? I'm slapping you with some baby powder. 2 times. Pish posh. Yeah, that's what you need to get.
Jay, we all know that Jim Brown retired early. He retired early. It's still considered one of the best or the best running back of all time.
Sure did.
And we know that right now, that if you see Jim Brown on a golf course, as some of us have seen him before, the way he barely can walk.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is somebody who got out early, but the career of being a football player, playing high school and then college and then going to the NFL and playing 1 or 2 seasons in the NFL, the lifespan of an NFL player is 3 years. This is a fact.
Yeah,
the lifespan of the typical NFL player is 3 years because by the time you get there, your body is so broken down, and now you're taking professional beating. I heard Shannon Sharp in the clip on YouTube say that football is legal violence. That's how professional football players see it. They see it as legal violence. So I mean, you're in a fight every day. No, that's not. You can't say those people don't deserve mental health support and all kind of other support.
And you can't say those people don't deserve whatever money they ask for either. Don't even get me started on that. Absolutely. Don't even get me started on that. I wouldn't have nothing to say about no NFL player talking about he want to hold out 10 minutes after he just signed a contract. And so what? When you got folks, and we moving away from the term ownership, I guess, when you got governors who got football and basketball, professional football and basketball franchises, and that's their kiddie park, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? That's not their number one thing that they do. Man, come on, man. Who was Jerry Jones is an oil tycoon.
Guys like Calvin and Patrick Willis.
Yeah.
These were guys who were in their prime. Why? Because they were worried about their long-term health.
Yeah. And they should, man. And they should. You know, if the league ain't going to look at it. Because, again, what it all comes down to, the folks who run the franchises and the folks who, the employers and the employees, the folks who employ, They see the employees as nothing more than commodities, man, and we're not going to ever stop mentioning that. All right, fellas, let's move along to the last topic, entree of the day. KD, psych. Brother Richie thought I was going to say KD and Kyrie. No, let's talk about Kawhi and PG. What it's going to be, Brother Rich?
Well,
Double J, you know when he start off with that, when he say, well,
this is the moment when we say, I told you so. I told you he was coming to the Clippers, and that I did not see, and I'm glad that he lived up to be who we thought he was, and that I didn't see him being the kind of person that's willing to form a super team. And the fact is that I have known, and those people know, and you know this, that the reality is that if you're going to participate with the king, you have to be willing to be a member of the court. And Kawhi is not a person who wants to be a member of anyone's court.
Or anyone's toxicity.
The Clippers were, that's another conversation. But the Clippers were positioned and best positioned to be the team that brought him home. And see, it was clear from the beginning that whether or not people understood it or liked it, that man wanted to come home. It wasn't about Toronto and them winning a title. The fact is, we talked about this before. The culture in the NBA is different. Those guys want to play in certain environments, in certain circumstances, certain situations. And so Paul George said a few years ago, I want to come home to the Lakers. I want to come to L.A. It turned out at that time it didn't manifest in the way he wanted it.
I wonder why.
I said the same thing. I want to go home.
I wonder why.
No, Paul George said it. Well, we know why. We know why.
Mm-hmm. You said what's already understood need not be said.
Was not willing to be a part of anyone's court. He wasn't trying to be in the court. And that's just the reality. If you're going to have a king, you have to be a part of the kingdom. You don't have.
But let me throw this out here as a tidbit. Let me throw this out here as a tidbit, because all this comparison going on, and of course Jordan's name being in the conversation of comparison here, or comparison conversation. I don't recall no player that played with Jordan. Not in the first three, in the second three. Nobody said nothing about they didn't want to be a part of Jordan's court. I'm just saying, excuse me, or Kobe's court. Even Shaq himself said, I wish I'd have listened to the young fella. But go ahead, Brother Richard. My bad. I'm sorry. I got a sidetrack. Sorry.
Well, I don't know what to add to that, because that's exactly the point. People know that. And I want to know why they can't have this argument on CNN or ESPN or ABC or NBC or Fox or whoever talks about this kind of thing. But the reality is that it's quite evident now from what Kyrie has said, from what Kevin Durant has said,
Rodney Hood.
We now see Rodney Hood has said, from what we now see in the move made by Kawhi. Now, as I said to someone, if Kawhi grows up in L.A., has grown up a Laker fan all his life, wanted to play for the Lakers all his life, and everything is available for him to come home right now, and he has a choice to make, why would you not come to the Lakers right now? Why would you not?
That's what I'm telling you. When you got Jordan,
we know why.
Excuse me.
We know why. Especially if people are thinking you got the greatest player of all time.
Thank you.
You're not coming because you don't want to be a part of the court. You don't want to be a part of the kingdom. And you're not going to. And it's the same thing for Paul George. The players, and this is the thing. The players know. The players in the league know. They don't want to participate. They don't want to play with LeBron. Nobody wants to play with LeBron. Nobody. So whether it's real or perceived, the fact is that people perceive him, the players perceive him, and the circumstance, the situation surrounding him as toxic, as problematic, as difficult. They perceive it that way. Whether it's real or not, that's how they perceive it.
Brother Rich speaketh. Double J, what you got to say? Hey, but Double J, before you say anything, do you can you pull up what Bobby Portis had to say? Because I can't seem to find it.
Durant
and
Kyrie?
Yeah, but don't say nothing yet, because you wanted to say something to me on Facebook about it. You said, yeah, man, you got to tell Brother Rich this, and I said, indeed, I will. And for whatever, I lost it and I couldn't find it again. But do you have it?
Yeah, I'll get it for you here in a moment.
Okay, but in the meantime, go ahead.
Yeah. So just to add to his point, it's Kawhi the deceiver. He it made all the sense in the world for him to go to the Clippers. And so what was astounding to me is the news that not only that came out, but what was reported last week that, that was being confirmed by the Clippers, that they were out. And when you talk about the ultimate finesse, because that fooled everyone, then you had guys like Chris Broussard, other notable names that were saying, just that, hey, we got Kawhi watch in Toronto, and he's on this plane, the whole nine. And meanwhile, while this is all taking place, what's astounding to me is that the Clippers were able to orchestrate the Paul George trade, which, again, would have otherwise made zero sense, because, again, they're risking their future when you look at the number of the draft picks that are included here. And in addition to that, so they're able to pull this thing off. So this all it comes out in a matter of 2 hours. First now Kawhi's going there, and then on top of that, boom, Paul George is on his way.
Well,
unlike, despite what was happening, which was everyone was getting a little bit frustrated about how long he was taking and how nothing, all the silence that was taking place. He actually went about it the best way possible.
Yeah, and you know what? To that point, let me read to you a post provided, a post that was put on the shop's page provided by D. Gully, who we've, of course, had on the show and has been a part of the program for years, and is an admin, of course, for the shop's page. I think this post was, matter of fact, I'm looking at how many people it reached. It was 213 people, by the way, 26 engagements. He said, shout out to Kawhi Leonard for reaffirming that sources, quote unquote, for national media are the same, at best, in parentheses, as the opinions of the common folk. How many of them ruled out the Clippers in the few days leading up to the signing? Ballmer and company did the one thing that Kawhi was doing himself, kept quiet, and they won. Well played, board man. Well played. Brother Rich, do that sum it up?
That sums it up because, again, it shows that Chris Broussard didn't know what the hell he was talking about, nor did any of those pundits who were talking all the rambling.
Yeah.
And every day they have people checking their Twitter feed or this, and they're saying, sources say a new word has come out. I talked to somebody very close.
People who can't think for themselves were checking their Twitter feed. But go ahead, I got you.
Exactly. And because they called it Kawhi Watch, so everybody was checking to see what's going on. And then I saw Steven Jackson, former player who I'm fond of his explanations on what's going on.
Hold that thought, Brother Rich. Hold that thought.
Sir?
Hold that thought. And what I want to say to Kawhi Watch, because we, just to be fair, we mentioned that too in regards to this. But what I want people to understand the difference between us and them, the way we discuss it was not speculative. You get what I'm trying to tell you? It was hardcore assessment based on concrete evidence, so to speak. We didn't say this or that like we knew it. Oh, yeah, this was going to happen. We gave our thoughts as to what might happen, and we explained why we thought that way, which no one really can argue with if you really got half a brain. You get what I'm trying to tell you? But go ahead, brother. Continue. Because I wanted to separate us from, the water cooler folk.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, it's a circumstance that everyone got caught up in, but we didn't get, what you're saying is this show that doesn't get caught up in it to that degree.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. And this is why I oftentimes say to you that this is the viable difference to me between being on a show like this and even being on an FS1 or ESPN, because they're corporate and they can't say certain things.
Mm-hmm.
They can't, for instance, they can't say on ESPN.
But they didn't got at their hookup because at least we maintain perspective.
They can't say that exactly. They can't say that Paul George does not want to be in Oklahoma City and that he only went there because the door was closed on his when he saw what happened. Because that will alienate their audiences in Oklahoma City. They can't say to the entire country that the reality is Kawhi Leonard had no intention of signing to play 5 more years in the freezer. That's what that's Canada is a freezer.
Yeah.
He's not going to play this. And it's not because he doesn't like the city or this, but the reality is he wants to come home. They can't say that Kawhi doesn't want to come home to the Lakers because he doesn't want to play with LeBron. They can't say that because you'll alienate LeBron and his fan club and his fan base. You can't say that kind of thing. Yes. But here, we can say that. So we say that because that's the reality. Not because we're making it up or we're part of the Kawhi watch. We end up being a part of it in terms of the conversation, but we're part of it for a very different set of lens that we're looking from through to say, look, let's call it as it is. That's it.
Perspective. And the same reason Jimmy Butler went to Miami. Not for the games, he went for the lifestyle. But before you finish what you were saying about Stephen Jackson, Double J, do you got that Bobby Portis? You ready with that Bobby Portis? Hold on 1 second here. I don't know what happened here. Double J, that you?
It sure is.
I don't know what happened. This system is acting up. You ready with the Bobby Portis thing?
I am. And so.
No. Hold it. Before you say anything, I want Brother Rich to finish his point about Stephen Jackson. Go ahead, Brother Rich.
Stephen Jackson said that I saw something on him on YouTube, and he said, this is why the players like him, who are former players, always say, don't listen to the pundits, that they don't know what they're talking about. And one of his commentaries was, he said it like this. He said, if you can go on YouTube and see it. He said, all of you listeners out there, all you people watching out there, he said, if you had a chance in your job, nobody can tell you where to work, what city you can work in, what company you work for. When you get a chance to decide where you want to work, you want to decide where you want to work. He said, now you all have to accept that the players are like that now. They want to play where they want to play. They want to work where they want to work.
Right.
Which is why we know, those who knew that Anthony Davis did not want to work in New Orleans. And you can't get mad at him, because if you ever been to New Orleans, you either like it or you don't like it. And if you don't like it after a while, you want to leave. If I'm a free agent, I want to go home. I want to go this place. This is what's going on. And that's what he was pointing out, that most of the pundits, they don't take the player, and they don't take the player seriously. When they want to do what's good for the NFL or the NBA or the Major League Baseball, but they don't consider the player as a human being. I don't understand.
That's the part I cannot stand. They don't consider fans too.
Yes,
you don't see the players human being, and that's what we do different here. I'm glad you said that. That's the difference with us. We see the player as a person first.
From the beginning, I want to go home. That's a human being telling you, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go. So you ship him to Toronto, and you think he's just going to acquiesce? And no, he goes up there, he wins the title, he laughs. that laugh he has that's now commodified to his benefit, and he gets the last laugh. Ultimately, he gets back home, and he's a Clipper now.
Yeah. Double J, I'm going to let you go ahead and do the Bobby Portis thing. Brother Rich, I think you're going to find this very interesting, because this is about KD and Kyrie now. We're talking here about the Brooklyn connection, the Brooklyn duo. And, we'd already said, we'd asked the question, would the KD and Kyrie thing work? But to Brother Richard's point that he's been making for quite some time on the program, not just today, but in other previous shows or whatnot, as far as oh my goodness, as far as, and then what you just said today, as far as what the pundits know and what the pundits don't know. Go ahead, Double J. Would you please read to us, or let in Bobby Portis' words, verbatize it? What did Bobby Portis say about KD and Kyrie?
There were two different conversations you and I had there on the social media side, and so the one that I said show Brother Rich this was actually regarding Kobe.
Oh my, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so that one was, what if I told you one man put so much fear in the league that all the players had to start teaming up to take him down?
Oh yeah,
ESPN 30% super teams. And again, this starts with Boston's big three, and then followed by Miami's big three, but again, because of Kobe Bryant.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. How you like that, Brother Rich?
You said that to me, and I read that, and I thought, exactly. Indeed, because people forget this. I don't know how people just forgot Kobe. People just forgot him.
Yeah.
Like, did you forget that this man played in the league?
Yeah, it's so disrespectful. And I saw a video. Double J, did you see the Facebook video during the Lakers practice when they were doing the drill where all the players was lined up in a column and they all had the basketball and they had to dribble left to right, do a crossover from left to right from the baseline all the way up to half court? Brother Rich, guess who was the lone defender for each one of the guys as they took their turn?
Kobe.
Anyway, yeah. I don't see no load management doing that. Okay, but anyway, Double J, yeah, would you tell us what Bobby Portis said, too, about the KD and Kyrie thing?
Yeah, Bobby Portis points out, I'm going to just paraphrase this, that, you and I may not have known, but the entire league knew, all the players knew that Durant and Kyrie were going to Brooklyn together.
Now, stop right there, Brother Rich.
Wow.
To your point. The players know, man. Outside of them players who sound like compensated endorsers
know.
The ones that sound like Alex Trebek. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm Alex Trebek. Yeah, I suggest you get Colonial Penn, even though you got the Hartford. Hey, they paid me to say it, so I'm going to say it. And then people like, if he said it, don't you understand? When somebody, a lot of times when a guy getting paid to say some stuff or whatever, he going to say whatever he's being paid for, and that don't mean that it's substantive. But anyway, finish, Double J.
Well, exactly to that point is if you look at more often than not, the sources of a lot of these high-end pundits are players. They're not your front office guys. They are players in the league. And that's who's revealing, these potential, moves in the making. And it started. Look back a few short months ago with the Anthony Davis thing around the trade deadline. That started from LeBron's camp. But again, it was LeBron who told, of course, Rich Paul and those guys, and then they, of course, followed suit by leaking the information. But it starts with the players.
Well, listen, and I want to add to that, going right back to the Kawhi Leonard thing and the Clippers and Steve Ballmer thing. Excuse me. What did I say, Brother Rich, to you and on this show, I believe, that the Lakers could have had AD without all of the toxicity that came along with it? It's the way they went about it. See, Kawhi was quiet. Steve Ballmer and the Clippers was kept quiet. If you go behind the scenes, and Magic and Brian, whoever it may be, and Rich if you need be, and holler at Dale Demps behind the scenes, ain't nobody mad. Ain't nobody tripping. Ain't nobody mad at the players for having power and using it or exercising this power or leverage that they finally have, courtesy of LeBron. But it's the way you're gonna strong arm the dude in front of company. Come on now, I'm gonna give it to you in layman's terms. If I got a problem with Brother Rich or a problem with Double J, I don't wait till we get in a room full of people, so to speak, and be like, "Hey, Double J, you or Brother Rich, man, pull you to the side like a man would do another man. Hey, man, let me holler at you right quick in the back. Hey, look, man, I don't appreciate you how you did. You know what I'm saying? I was over there, and you crossed in front of me, man. It wasn't even that. Okay. That man's reaction is going to be totally different when it's you and him as opposed to you trying to put him on blast. That's all I'm saying. The Clippers showed you that the deal could have been done, and then y'all could have came out, if you're the Lakers, and said, breaking news, Anthony Davis has been traded too. Didn't nobody have to know nothing about the goings-on, the inner workings, or nothing like that. But no, you're going to come out, let him know you want to be traded. Well, guess what happened? Yeah, you got what you got, but what did it cost you? But go ahead, Double J, finish. My bad for the little tangent.
Absolutely. Something I want to point out that's not being said yet is what Kawhi did is he's now creating a league of duos.
Oh.
So before, dating back to what we just spoke about a moment ago, was about the big three. And now we're talking about duos. So what you're seeing now in the mix is, for example, Russell Westbrook being rumored to be traded to Detroit for Luke Kennard, Andre Drummond, and a couple first-round picks.
Why would they do that?
In which case
why would they get rid of Drummond? Free throws are just that bad,
You have to understand they would have a total of 7 first-round picks going into over the next 3 years, in addition to their own. So you're talking about 10 first-round picks.
Whoa, okay. So you're saying is Joe Dumars the GM and we don't know about it? Did they rehire him or something?
No, I think it's a knee-jerk move for the Pistons, who understand that, their weak point has been Reggie Jackson. It's been the point guard position.
Yeah.
And they see a window of opportunity here with no Durant this year in the East, and they see that that Milwaukee has somewhat regressed, taking a few steps back despite having Giannis. And again, we talk about duos. So if you say Embiid and Ben Simmons versus Russell Westbrook and Blake Griffin,
got you.
It leaves the opportunity, the door open.
Got you. And you know what? That's kind of like history repeating itself, so to speak, because that old school that everybody keep knocking, that all these young folks who only watch highlights want to say the old school was all about fights. Doubt it. That's how it kind of was back in the mid-'90s. Duos. You had maybe one or two stars, and then. But look, it's a copycat league. It's a copycat league. I knew once Toronto won it, man, folks were gonna be like, okay, so you don't need a team full of everybody better than everybody else. There's no competition in that. Continue.
But you know what? That should also spark the revival of NBA Jam, because instead of
yeah, right.
Yeah. So I personally would pick up the stick for that one. But it would be interesting to see, who's going to go. You got LeBron and AD. You got KD, Kyrie. You got Kawhi and PG 13. It's a beautiful thing how the landscape of the league that was so heavily reliant on just a select few teams, not even 2 seasons ago, has now opened itself up wide open yet again. And that's why I'm glad that everything has played out in the manner that it has. And as you pointed out just a moment ago, history is repeating itself again.
Yeah.
And we're, despite being in this golden age of the NBA, now, with the players having these freedoms, they aren't afraid to go into the small markets like they were in decades past. And it's giving everyone a true equal opportunity.
Yeah, I'm glad right now. I'm just kind of glad that parity is not, it's, being paid lip service to, so to speak, just pomp and circumstance, and it's actually playing itself out. The balance of power has shifted, and it looks to be leveled out. Brother Rich, we're going to give you the last word of the day before we get out of here, man. What say you about all this? Bobby Porter said.
I say ditto. I think that this is probably the first time in recent memory that we've had this kind of parity going into a season where it appears as though you really, truly cannot tell who is, quote unquote, the best team until they all hit the floor. And so it makes for an exciting off season and an even more exciting potential season, if you will. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. Going forward, I really, really do. Fellas, as always, good stuff. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. You go to the search box and type in the Shop Report. Or you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, and, of course, you can email us via the shopreport365@gmail.com. We are on Spotify. And if that don't work, you can Google it. For my guests, my man from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park, Brother Rich, and my cat from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J, and all those who follow us on social media, we say thank you for your for your support. I'm Barbershop Jay, and you've been listening to the Shop Report. And remember, the next time y'all want to know what's really going on, man, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla.